Welcome, everybody, to the Investors Podcast 2.0 Wealth Mindset, where we dive into the minds of the successful real estate entrepreneur to uncover the tips and tricks that have allowed them to keep moving forward. I am your host, Scott Bauer, and I'm excited that you're here with us. Welcome back, everybody. It is another episode of the Invest This Podcast. I am your host, Scott Bauer. Really excited today. We're going to have Jake Marmulstein with us talking about an innovative way for you to communicate with your investors and ultimately possibly raise some money with that. So, Jake, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing really well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well also. It's a great week. It's nice and hot here in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. So, we're doing good. We're doing really well. Where are you at right now?
In Chicago, Illinois.
You're in Chicago, Illinois. Don't we love technology, getting a chance to talk with somebody halfway across the country? What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is really. You don't even really notice after a while that you're doing it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Well, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background and introduce them to Groundbreaker, what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of Groundbreaker. I conceived the idea of Groundbreaker when I was working at a REIT, and we were investing in distressed hotels across the United States. I was managing a lot of the back office, a lot of the documentation and communications with investors, which involved putting together pitch books, keeping the data in Excel and updating the data, getting all the files organized in the right deal folders and disseminating that information to investors, and then sitting on investment committee calls and defending some of the analysis we had. And I just realized that through the process of managing the relationship with these investors and doing all the back office work, that it was really cumbersome. And I was spending an odd amount of hours working. And I said, man, this has to be better. There has to be an easier way. I had, recently graduated school. So I was kind of thinking about what did I want to do and how did I want to have, what did I see my job being and how did I want that to evolve? And it was just hard to picture being kind of in that, that menial labor type of role, working on this back office stuff when I was really, interested in doing the analysis, looking at deals, talking to investors, and doing all the things that we like to do in real estate other than the admin work. And so that was the seed of the idea for Groundbreaker. I didn't immediately go into it. I went into doing some technology ventures, traveling around the world, and figuring out what it is that I wanted. And then when I was able to kind of connect the dots between real estate and technology through different experiences, I started this company to really simplify the process of presenting information to investors and building efficiency in the back office by streamlining communications and work through an all-in-one investment management platform.
So, I think that's really, really good for a lot of reasons. Number one, the listeners on this call that are listening to this, some of them are syndicators themselves or syndicating deals, meaning that they're pulling together investor money to buy assets. Maybe they're doing a one-off situation where they just need to raise money for one property from one investor or a couple of them, right? So it's not big. But Groundbreaker seems like it's a really good communication tool, right? Because one of the most important, I'm an investor in deals, and I want to know what's going on with my money. I want to see a monthly report every month what's coming on with a P&L, with projects that are going on, to see what the status of the investment that I've invested my money into is doing. And right now, on a couple of the investments that I'm in, I have to rely on them to communicate that to me. And if they don't, I have to reach out and ask them. I have to spend my time worrying about what they should be just delivering to me. I could see Groundbreaker as being a way for them to be like an all-in-one spot, kind of like you're talking about, all-in-one communication, where whatever's going on at that present time within that asset that you invested in is all probably in your portal. Is that about right?
Yeah, the software really simplifies your communication, because instead of having to go through email and having investors dig through different emails, maybe losing information and trying to find documents, or asking you, how much they've invested in your deal, and you having to cull together the different investments in a spreadsheet in Excel, they can just log into the portal. They don't even need to ask you for this information. And it's all securely, behind a password protected portal that's branded with your company information. And so if you're going to, upload a P&L, you can just put it in there. The investors log in and they can see it. They don't need to dig around and find it. And the system just makes you look great. makes you look bigger than you are as a GP. And that's really important with building investor confidence and building trust, and then eventually, getting that referral and opening yourself up to more.
So, I mean, who are you targeting specifically for this type of software? Is this the smaller mom and pop person? Is it larger corporations? I mean, what do you have a target for who you're going after?
Yeah, that's a great question. The real estate market is pretty wide in terms of the, sophistication and different range of the ways that people raise money, structure their deals, and what kinds of assets they go after. We're really asset agnostic in terms of the kinds of customer that would really get value out of Groundbreaker. It's anybody that has outside stakeholders as investors that need access to this information. So not necessarily targeting the big institutional shops that might have their own in-house team for reporting. We're really talking about the mom and pops, the small to medium sized real estate syndicators that have anywhere between 5 investors to hundreds of investors that they're reporting to.
So, yeah, you wouldn't want to go after the institutional guys. Is it a cost situation? I mean, is it from an affordability standpoint for the mom and pop out there that has, that's raising some capital, that, has a couple of projects, whatever? Is it fairly affordable from a SaaS product, as software as a service? Because that's what it is, correct?
Yeah, it's a software as a service, and our pricing is listed on our website. At the time of this recording, anybody can get in on the solution with as little as 0 to 1 million in equity under management for $100 a month. And it scales up as you add more equity onto the portal. And by that, we mean capital that's contributed. We're not talking about all-in transaction. We're just talking about the capital that you've raised for your deals from investors, with, combining whatever GP and LP commitments that you have. And then, as you add on more, so you can build your business on top of the system, you're going to get bigger, your deals have more meat on the bones, and you can pay more for the solution, and you're using more of the features that it has. And really, that's the idea of Groundbreaker, is to help these small syndicators be able to build a really streamlined and efficient business on top of our platform.
And kind of get off the ground running, make sure that they look presentable to their investor pool that they're trying to raise capital from. So walk us down how the process works. I'm sure that there's listeners that are listening to this right now saying, hey, this sounds kind of cool. What might that look like for them?
So from day one, we would have that conversation about their goals in their business, trying to understand what exactly they're looking for out of the solution and make sure there's a fit. Ideally, they want to streamline their communications. They want to look bigger than they are. They want to look good, and they want to make things simple for their investors. Then if they have an existing portfolio, we'll hook them up with our implementation specialist and have a data transfer. So all those existing assets, investor lists, whether they're prospective investors or current investors, they get ported into the system. So if you're an LP and you're logging in for the first time, you get immediate value out of this solution, because you can go and log in and see all of your contributions, all your distributions, all your documents. And then the GP admin who's using the system can then be able to, service investors, add distributions, add reports, add new deals. It's sort of do it yourself, because the solution is robust enough to be able to handle those things. You don't need to come back to our team for a lot of help. But that first initial onboarding process, if there's data, it can take as long as 30 days. But if you don't have a lot of data to onboard into the system, you can really get going, within a few days.
So let's say somebody has an idea. Well, before I ask that question, are you man like do you have to abide by SEC guidelines for any reason?
That's a great question. The security laws are like, we have conceived of our solution thinking of what is the most common way and what is compliant and what is secure for sponsors to be able to fit into a mold that's already been established by the SEC. So any transactions that involve general solicitation or private placement, where you have to have a certain number of sophisticated investor cap and then accredited investors in the deal, it's built to be able to provision access to the portal, and then as another level of redundancy, provision access to deals so that you can remain compliant in that sense. And then there's an investor verification questionnaire that goes before the subscription agreement gets signed through the system as well. So you're making sure that you note down which investors are accredited or not. You get them to sign the subscription fully, and then you approve that before they send you any funds.
Okay. Okay, because I just, that's how the SEC can get really nasty fairly quickly if you do things incorrectly. Do you offer legal advice, or do you point people, users of your service, to legal counsel of any sort, or do you try to stay completely out of that?
Well, we definitely have throughout the years, since we've been in this space for a while. We've made relationships with a lot of reputable lawyers who, have the experience building PPMs, structuring funds, and handling compliance for real estate syndicators of any size. We've got options, on the small end as well as like middle market. So if anybody needs a referral, we're happy to make one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then what about state specific? So every state's a little bit different, right? And you're going to have specific guidelines you have to abide by for each state. So, I mean, does that matter when you're selling your service? I mean, are there guidelines you have to abide by? Something that a user would have to be concerned about if they were to sign up with your service?
In general, no, it's rather simple. If you're doing a 506B as in boy, then you don't have to really do anything state specific from my knowledge. You're just going to make sure that you have a cap of 35 sophisticated investors in your deal, and that you're making sure that you have a pre-existing relationship with them, and that you're getting them to sign off on your subscription agreement, PPM disclosures, before they get into the deal. And if you're doing anything that's crowdfunding related, there are some state regulations. Like I know in Illinois, we could do like a $5 million raise or something from non-accredited investors. That's really uncommon to see though. But if anyone has specific questions, I'm pretty well versed in a lot of those things. And, if you're in California, there's some funny rules about raising money there. And we have lawyers that we know in our network, like in California, that specialize in those things. So we're happy to help connect people to the right resources if they're thinking about specific state regulations that they want to take advantage of or learn more about.
Okay. Well, that's certainly a good resource. And for all you listeners out there, make sure to check back at the end of the show. In the show notes, there's going to be all of Jake's contact information, so you can reach out to him if you have questions. But the next question is, so because you're focused on the mom and pop person, investor, do do you come in with newbie investors that are looking to raise capital before they have an asset to put it in? I mean, it's kind of like a fund, right? But let's say that you know that you're going to go buy, let's just use a multifamily property as an example. 100 units, you're going to pay 10 million bucks for this thing. Okay. So you need to go raise $2.5 million minimum to put as your down payment. So you don't have the asset yet. Do you have to have an asset in order to utilize Groundbreaker to start raising capital? Or is that kind of how you're able to make a new investor look a little bit sharper, a little bit more educated, a little bit more robust than maybe they are? Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. While Groundbreaker is a great presentation layer to be able to make you look good to your investors, it's not necessarily a like marketing automation tool. So
Okay.
there's a lot of pre-work you need to do in order to get that investor list. And I think that is sort of that's putting the cart before the horse. You really want to be able to identify your investment thesis, your geographical focus, your market focus, what kind of property and what kind of strategy you want to use to be able to leverage for your first real estate investment. And you want to think about it in terms of all the things that matter to you with regard to proximity or the kind of work that you want to put in and your own expertise and your team. And then once you kind of figure that out and you know exactly what you're going after within the market by your analysis and your underwriting, and you've got the property and everything else, then you probably start pitching to investors and saying to your friendly investors, hey, what do you think about these, like this investment thesis in general and these types of deals? And you may not even have an asset in mind, but you have several different examples, and then you can kind of get their interest and say, okay, well, what are you in for? What would you be in for potentially if I had this deal, 25K, 50K, whatever? And you start building your book, and then at that point you might be confident enough to say, all right, we're really going to do this. We're going to go after a deal. Now we've got the brokers pitching us. We've got our platforms that we're looking at where we're getting fed deal volume. And maybe by then, with like a month of lead time or 2 months of lead time, you'd get Groundbreaker, you'd have our team import the data into the system so you could activate these investor accounts. And then you tell your investors, hey, when we're ready and we have a deal, we're going to launch it on Groundbreaker and you guys are going to get an invitation. And so that would be more of the progression of how it would work.
Yeah, I think it's very important for any investor out there to have their investment strategy laid out ahead of time, regardless of what you're doing, right? So that definitely makes sense where you encourage them to have all that laid out, have kind of like like a model, right? A model of exactly what you're trying to do before you go pitch your investors with it. Do you have a lot of competition in this space? I mean, obviously, technology has really taken hold of the real estate space and I mean everything. Let's be honest. But what does your competition look like? And what sets you apart at Groundbreaker?
Well, when we started, there was nobody else in the space doing this, and it was a lot of education telling people what we were doing exactly. Over time, we've seen some competitors come into the space. What I've seen is that they're either really big and expensive and hard to use, meaning they have a lot of functionality that's more suited towards bigger institutional shops, or there's just solutions that aren't quite there yet, or they're just too simplistic, or they're not supported by very robust teams. So, there's competition in the market, but Groundbreaker really excels by having an excellent team. We have the resources here. We're venture backed, and we've been around in the market. So there's that market knowledge and experience. And then in regards to the software, it is really the most intuitive and easy to use application that's available in the market. It's fast, it's responsive, it covers a whole lot of functionality, and it's affordable.
So, and is it an app? Like you can get an app on your phone type thing, or is it easy to log in on desktop? How does that look?
Yeah, it's easy to log in on your phone. If you wanted to go through a web browser, you can view everything on mobile.
I think because that's very important, right? Everybody works on their phone today. It's crazy when you think about how much a phone now can do. And so if you didn't have access to it on your phone, that'd probably be a mistake. Um,
Yeah,
where,
we actually just rolled out a new feature where you can send money through ACH, and you can do that from your phone. You can go and like see a deal, sign it on your phone, and send funds. So we're completing that process, making it even easier. And if you do it from a phone, I mean, how great could that be? Be sitting on the beach investing in real estate. You know?
yeah, it's pretty nice. I've done that before. It is pretty nice, that's for sure. What what problems or what issues do you have with not just necessarily the service, but I mean, I'm sure you've had user feedback, and they say, hey, we wish you had this different, or we're really looking for something like this. I mean, what are some examples for the listeners that of some challenges that you've had either had and overcome or currently still have? Maybe I can give you some tips.
Yeah, I mean, user feedback is a huge part of our development process. We have our own vision of where we want to take the product, but we're always listening to our customers. And certainly something we hear quite a bit is that they want to be able to sync the data that we have in Groundbreaker with other systems, be it like email marketing, because we're not really an email marketing tool or an automation tool. They want to sync with accounting and property management software. And the industry is fairly new, the product is fairly new in the grand scheme of things. It's been like 5 years, so there's still things that we're working on doing to be able to tie together all the different data that you're using throughout your workflow, and make all those systems talk to each other. So I think as we continue to develop, we're going to look for ways to be able to tie those systems together. But it's also challenging because systems change and the popularity of systems that people use change. And so we continue to just evaluate the space and see what are really the right moves, and how do we do that in a way that's going to be user friendly and really easy to use and covers the use case that our customers are looking for.
That makes a lot of sense. And I would say that, staying laser focused on what you're good at, not trying to do everything is probably really important and will allow you to go further faster. Um, but it also at the same time makes sense where you would have a connectivity with like your CRM or your property management website or property management software. So they're kind of intertwined. Have you thought about adding another layer onto your software as a service and putting in a property management software of some sort, or is that a whole nother?
It's a whole nother ball of wax, my friend. Yeah, we don't want to do accounting or property management. We're trying to stay far away from that. We'd rather just be able to push and pull data at some point and, work with those systems, because there already is a lot on the market as it is. And maybe, we find ways to make those systems more efficient and
Right.
create value add from those customers that are using them. But we don't want to try to, reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Have you been able to pull people from other softwares or other, I mean, where's your lead magnet? Where are you finding people that are the right fit for this type of service? And, are they coming from other software or providers, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we do see a fair amount of people coming from some of the big box enterprise guys that are just kind of fed up with the price and the, functionality that they're not using, because
Yeah.
they really want simplicity and they want ease of use. We see people coming from some of the smaller providers that just aren't, cutting it. But we also just see a big market out there of people that maybe haven't ever used a software, and they're really coming from Excel.
I mean, yeah, you could stop the ball there because we all know how terrible Excel is. That's for sure. Yeah, well, it's not terrible. It's actually a phenomenal tool, but to
It's
keep
even better if you know Visual Basic too.
uh, talk about complication, that's for sure. I mean, I know very, very little about it, and I can already tell you, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm sure a lot of people are very similar. Um, do you? So where does it go from here? How do you continue to evolve to make it a better, more user-friendly environment, to make it a more efficient product for the user? What does 5 years from now look like?
Well, first of all, we want to focus on quality. We're always looking to make sure that the software is something that's going to maintain the kind of quality that it has now, that we continue to build in enhancements, and we make the software really easy to use and hone in on that, because that is what people love about Groundbreaker. That's really what's unique about us. And it takes time and thought to do that. We can't go like speeding ahead and just jamming in features left and right. We have to be really careful about what we're building. But in the future, our goal is to really slam the investor portal, make that extremely easy to use, make it extremely useful, and make GPs look very good while using it, and then build even more efficiencies into some of the distribution systems, some of the automated reporting, some of the document management stuff, and even in the CRM, because we do have our own CRM and we want to make that a little bit more robust too. But then as we go on, looking like 5 years out, it's really like taking all of that value that we've created on the software and then being able to offer services to our customers so that they can programmatically grow their businesses with access to, additional capital or services that are going to help them to scale.
So, and that makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of probably a trick question, or a tricky question rather. Given that you've been in business, you said 5 years, right? You've been in
Mhm.
business as a Groundbreaker for 5 years. Okay. And in that 5 year mark, I can tell you that technology has changed the trajectory of where you originally thought it was going to be. So, from a mindset standpoint, trying to project out 5 years from now is probably very difficult to do. How can you mentally, how does your mindset have to change so that you can continually adapt and have that vision that you're talking about, but still, you know, not push too far forward? Maybe 5 years is too much. I mean, in reality, 5 years from now, we're going to be in a different world. That's for sure. Right.
Yeah, I mean, my vision has always been the same vision since day one. What I'm talking about with the services model, with the optimization of the software, it's always been the same thing. I mean, maybe more and more as I see more software on the market and my messaging changes and talking about how intuitive we are, we've really honed in on that. And I have maybe taken it for granted that our software is so much easier to use than others. But it's just that, like, you got to stay focused on what you want in the long term. You have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to create room within the organization for leaders to emerge and really make a difference. So that's what it is about building a company. It's creating opportunity, giving other people room for growth, and maybe sometimes, realizing when you're wrong or when you're not doing things as well as you could be, so that you can let somebody else who might be better do some of those things. So it's been a learning experience for me, a personal development experience as well. And I just want to keep going on this road and continuing to attract the right kinds of people to the company to help us get there.
I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, mainly the people listening to this podcast right now, I mean, it is very challenging to kind of step away from doing everything and recognize your flaws, right? Say, I mean, I love the fact that you just said sometimes you're not the best at doing something. Sometimes you have to move over and let somebody else who is the best step in and do it for you, or at least join you in your team or whatever. And I think that's really important for a lot of people to think about, because a lot of us get stuck in doing it our way because that's the only way that we know how to do that. And I say that because, of course, I'm victim to that. We all are. Every entrepreneur out there is. We're trying to grow our baby, and we don't want somebody else coming in to ruin our baby, right? I mean, that's just what entrepreneurship is. So that's really interesting to have you say that. And um, how large is the organization? Do you have a lot of people that are involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, we're building out more of our advisory board right now. We're about 13 people full time in the company, so we're continuing to grow. We're hiring for multiple positions right now,
Okay.
and hopefully, when this episode comes out, we'll we'll be at like 15.
Well, and I mean, what does that look like from a hiring standpoint? Because I'm guessing you're all pretty much virtual, right? So, um, are you looking? What type of people are you looking for? Maybe you might be able to get a candidate or two that comes out of this podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very open-minded. I mean, right now we're investing in product, customer success, sales. We just filled some marketing positions, and yeah, we're continually looking for great talent in all areas of the business. So if anybody is interested, there's a careers page and a link there for people to get in touch.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, listeners, if you're listening to that and it sounds like something, make sure to check the show notes. We'll give you a spot to go check out and learn more information. So, Jake, you know what? Let's just for sake of time here. You ready for a lightning round?
Yes, let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, first question is, how do you feel your mindset really affects the trajectory of your business in this space?
Mindset is everything. When you're building an organization, it's not just about you, it's about the people that are impacted by your thoughts,
Okay.
and your thoughts manifest into your actions, and your actions can affect people's lives. So you have to have the right mindset, and even being able to have the right mindset helps you to help yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right. It is very, very important. It's the number one thing for any business to continue to thrive. And I like the fact that you think about other people, not so much yourself, when it comes to how your mindset affects other people, right? That's huge. What are you reading anything right now? What are you reading?
So I'm reading some books, but like a bunch of different books. Deep Work is one of them. I want to, maybe for my book, I'd talk about the transparency sale, because that's impacted a lot of the way that we sell now, and the way that we talk to customers.
Okay. So not reading anything specific that you're trying to get through, just a lot of culmination of a lot of different books currently.
Talent Code is also one of them, or Culture Code,
Okay.
like building great company culture.
Yeah, that's great, because I think that that's something that a lot of people don't really look at, is becoming a better leader. Until you are becoming a better leader and being better yourself, it's hard to lead other people, right? I mean, that's it. What are you trying to learn? So not read anymore, but what are you trying to learn?
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to learn about balance and being able to go from being more on the operational side and in the weeds to uh, getting into being the CEO that I need to be, so that Groundbreaker can really grow past this phase and become a big company.
Amen to that, man. That is a very challenging step to take. Hats off for you for taking the stride to do so.
I'm
That's
really lucky because I've gotten a phenomenal team supporting me and people inside of my company that are helping me to do that.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have a superpower?
uh, well, I think that my superpower could be my self-awareness,
Okay.
because I'm aware of where I'm flawed and where I need to grow, and I can sort of step outside and reflect. That helps me to be able to get the help that I need.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, self reflection and just understanding of awareness around yourself and your surroundings and whatever that your impact makes a big difference on not only growing yourself, but helping to grow other people. So thank you for sharing that. And how do you like to give back?
So it's definitely hard with my work schedule, but whenever I cross paths with other entrepreneurs, I really get interested in their ideas and what they're doing. So I have a few different people that run companies in the tech space and the real estate space that I mentor, and just, it's informal and everything, but whenever there's an opportunity to help give them help and, guide them along to prevent the mistakes that I made in the past, I like to give my time and my advice.
Man, good for you, because the most important thing you can give is your time. And, that might drastically change somebody's trajectory of not only their business, but also their life. So hats off to you for that as well. Final thing, man, how can the listeners reach you if they want to learn more about Groundbreaker, if they want to learn more about you, anything about that, where can they find you?
Well, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Jake Marmulstein, should be the only one there. And then jake@groundbreaker.co is our website. And you can email me, jake@groundbreaker.co, if you want to get in touch.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, all you listeners that have stuck with us, I appreciate you staying here with us. That means you're interested. Make sure to check the show notes for the links to get in touch with Jake. And, of course, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, because we want to make sure that we get all the information you just learned to everybody else out there. So anyways, Jake, thanks for being here again, man. I appreciate you very much, and look forward to keeping in touch.
Appreciate you, Scott. Thank you for the platform.
Yeah, man. Talk soon. See ya.